All right, this is my 1992 Toyota pickup truck that happens to have a box truck attached to it. Now, we rescued this thing out of an old field. It was at a hoarder's house. It was disgusting. We had to get it running and driving there. We drove it back to the shop. We fixed it up. We made it our official shop truck. And now I took a perfectly running driving vehicle, ripped the entire drivetrain out of it so I could stuff a big old supercharged Tundra V8 in this thing. And that's where we're kind of at. We got to get the Tundra V8 wired up, plumbed up, cooled, the whole 9 yards. We have an automatic transmission from the same thing. We need to do custom drive shaft, whole bunch of stuff, which we are going to get started doing today. Now, I've been down with ACL surgery for the past few months at this point, so I'm very excited to get back on this project and take you guys along with me. And I guess big news, I no longer need these. I can just walk. Last time we got the old drivetrain out of this truck and we mocked up the new 2UZ with the blower. We got the auto transmission in it, and obviously it's not still in there because the transmission that we had was absolutely cooked. It was ruined, it was junk. Tail housing was broken, bell housing was broken, it was junk. Took it back to the junkyard, and now we have a new unit that hopefully is a lot better. We have all sorts of stuff that we need to install today. This is the transmission mount. Thought about remaking it, but it's gonna be good enough for a burnout truck. We have a full new oil pan kit with the sump and everything, baffle, little plate. We have a U-joint to replace our rag joint that was too big. We got some exhaust stuff. We'll be getting the rest of that very soon. And then we have a full oil filter relocation kit along with all the hoses that we need to do it. So without further ado, let's rip off these motor mounts, get these things shored up. We're gonna cut out some plate on our CNC table, get those just finished up, and we will get both of those welded up, get the transmission mount welded up, get the engine bolted to the transmission, get everything in there, and then shove it in that truck. And we'll get to see what it looks like yet again. So we have our engine mounts and we have our transmission mount here, and what we're gonna do, first things first, we're gonna use some cardboard aided design. All right, and just like that, we have one of our templates here and the other one here, and you can see the writing on there. There's places that I want it to be slightly bigger or slightly smaller, so I just mark it out, and then when I go ahead and transfer this into Fusion 360, I'll take account all of these new measurements, and then they'll come out perfect. Love how accurate CNC is. All right, 10 minutes later, we have 2 plates that are ready to be installed. Hopefully they fit. I think I messed one up for sure. Cool, neither even close. I messed these up. I'm gonna remake them like now. I have the right plates. I cut the wrong plates. All right, we got all this welded up. They are, you know, looking pretty good. They're definitely a lot stouter than they were. We're gonna go ahead and use some Aluma Armor black on these. They also have stainless. My boy Nick from Loose and Lost hooked me up with this. This stuff is actually baller. I've used it once, 2 coats, coated insanely well. So I'm excited to use the black. This is gonna be my first time using it. So let's set up, get these painted, and yeah, make these not look quite so bare steel. And tomorrow we'll go ahead and get everything installed on the engine and possibly put the engine back in the truck. So we got everything painted. It's all looking good, but we're gonna take a quick break to go wheeling on this beautiful Sunday. So we got invited out by the Cliffhanger guys, Richard Jenkins. And we're gonna take the first gen out and beat it up. Hopefully not beat it up too bad, but we had to throw yet another intake manifold gasket on it because I didn't tighten one of the bolts. But it's got a new gasket. We're good to go, and we're gonna go wheeling.
Quilling.
It's early. Excuse our lack of enthusiasm. It's still pre-8. All right, and now we are headed to go wheeling, and we're gonna go wheeling in Farmington, but that brings me to the important part is we're gonna have to get gas to go wheeling, and getting gas costs money, and I hate spending a ton of money without getting anything back for it, and that brings us to today's video sponsor, Upside. The free Upside app gets you cash back on purchases that you make every single day, and you're already making these purchases, so you may as well use it, like gas, groceries, and restaurants. There are well over 100,000 places that accept Upside, many gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, etc. And these companies are paying to advertise, and Upside is paying us since we're making sure their advertisements are working great. And this is real cash back. That's right, cash back. Upside doesn't give you any weird gimmicks, none of this weird stuff where you have to do this, that, and the other to get this money back. They just send this stuff straight to your bank account, or they'll give you a gift card if that's what you want to do. Using Upside is extremely easy. All you got to do is head to one of the gas stations that's supported by Upside, pay as you normally would, which is as simple as tapping your card these days. Grab this, select the fuel, pump as usual, if it'll pump for you. Excuse me? Oh, You got to put your PIN in too if you're using the debit card. It's way easier to use than this gas pump, that's for dang sure. Now, to find out how much you can earn, you're gonna go to the link in the description right here, download Upside, use my code FABWORKS to save an extra 25 cents off per gallon on your first fill up. And that's gonna be huge for us because it supports the channel, and it's gonna be huge for you because that's cash in your pocket. There's a QR code right here you can also scan. Every and all of this very helps so much, including you guys downloading the app, you guys saving money, and Upside supporting the channel. So, with all that being said, let's go beat up the 4Runner, try not to break anything, and try to scare the heck out of my wife. We're out here with the Cliffhanger boys. We're all down. We got a bunch more rigs than I thought would show up, and we got one to walkie-talkie. So, we're gonna go run garage something or other? Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We're definitely outgunned here. Smallest tires, all new leaf springs. We got this.
Cut to the chase. Everyone give me some space. Don't fall out, we fall into place. Every step walking with grace, amen.
In a group of Jeeps.
We are currently going up the garage, and apparently it's really cool. Rick said that I cannot miss this opportune. Let's check this out. It looks pretty actually gnarly up there. Turn all the way to the other route. So it'll be good. It should be fun. I'm excited. On this back passenger side seat?
I can't.
Back passenger's kind of in a challenge. We'll bring you up in here. Yes. Pull up to the rock and then take it back. Nice.
That was gnarly for sure. That was gnarly. Rick said 37s and no cage was acceptable, and I'm feeling like this is a 40s and cage kind of situation.
There are bypasses.
There are bypasses, but he said I had to. He said I had to, so I had to. Mm-hmm. I am so glad we came out today. We almost didn't, but boys, they were going wheeling and they decided let's go wheeling. What do you think?
I'm excited that we're out here.
Yeah, this is sick. This is very cool. What do you think, guys? A little hot? Well, I got plenty of water. It is warm, but they'll be all right. We've got our motor mounts welded out and ready to put on here, painted up. Everything looks good. And yes, I cut my hair. 10 years of hair is gone. I had no clue my hair was this curly either. Don't worry, it's not just you. But we're gonna get these bolted on, get the oil pan bolted on. We got the baffle to pick up. Everything's gonna go on this. We're gonna bolt this up to the transmission we have in the corner, shove it all in there, and we'll start plumbing everything else. So first things first, let's get these bolted on. The time has come to put our new fancy baffle, oil pickup, and oil pan on. Dang, that is a bright pink oil pan.
It is so bright, especially compared to the engine.
All right, get this thing, put the transmission on it, and throw it back into the hood so we can see what it looks like after not really seeing it for a couple months under there. I guess I'll put it in the back. Little bump here, little bump there, be all right. So if you want to, I guess we can go down a little bit. Is this actually leaking? Get the hell out of here. Got an oil leak before it even runs, or there's oil in it. Did I just like block myself out of installing this? The order of operations may have not included doing, oh, we're close. Throw a couple bolts in this and we will have the engine and transmission rebolted. And from there, we can start plumbing everything. And just like that, we have the good old V8 supercharged Tundra engine up in here again. It looks good. So I've looked around and one of the first things I want to deal with is this steering box. When you turn it, yeah, it's contacting this exhaust manifold. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna just unbolt the whole steering box, move it over about 3/4, 7/8 of an inch, put a new bolt right here. Just basically use longer bolts, make a big fat all metal spacer. I'll CNC cut it, weld it all together, and then re-drill and bolt in this other bolt. And then everything will be moved over. So this will be out of the way of the exhaust. We might even be able to run AC in this thing, and we'll have to completely realign everything because the whole steering box is gonna move about 7/8 of an inch, which is gonna throw a wrench in the whole steering thing. But we'll fix it. It shouldn't be too weird or wonky. We now have the steering box mounted where we want to put it. So you can see from the two holes, this is where the steering box was mounted. We moved it over about 3/4 of an inch. That's gonna mess with our alignment, but we have plenty of room for the steering rack joint now, the U-joint. So what we are gonna do now is get this radiator, and it's a universal Honda thing. I don't know what it is. It's from Summit. We have 1.5" outlet here, 1.75" outlet here. It is about 21 3/8 inch wide, and we need to actually bring it forward. It's gonna be sitting kind of cockeyed in here. So we're just gonna cut this. Yeah, it's a little small, so we're just gonna take a little bit off of each side so that we can lean the radiator out and hopefully get a fan behind here and also have plenty of clearance for a serpentine belt, you know, make the supercharger do its thing and everything else. So we're just gonna cut that. Bam, just like that, we have cut a hole big enough for a big old fat radiator. It's actually kind of small radiator for what we're doing, but it's gonna work great. What we need to do now is kind of mock the radiator up here and think about where or what we're gonna weld to. I do want to utilize the 4 factory mounts here. We have boom, boom. So we'll just get some aluminum, cut some tabs, maybe bolt them on here with slots so that we can work them in and out, and then we'll weld them to the sides of the core here. You know, just get this thing mounted. I will probably hard mount this. It's not gonna see that much road use, and this core support is flexy enough. As long as we do slits, it shouldn't, you know, crack the radiator or anything. So that's the plan for now. I'm gonna go cut some aluminum up and get it over here and drill some holes and weld some stuff. TIG welding, really loud, yay. Trying to make the radiator avoid the hood. Forgot there's a big old supercharger in the way of the hood already. So there's that. I guess we have a couple options here. We don't worry about the hood, or we cut the hood right now. So we've got our tabs cut here, one for each side. We're gonna kind of just put the radiator where we want it, and when it's where we want it, we're gonna tack it exactly where it goes. And we'll do the same thing on the bottom two tabs, and the radiator is mounted, and we can start thinking about cutting off the bottom little outlet that's too big and weld on one that's the right size. Welding stuff. So we got the top two tacked in, and we're just working on the bottom two right now. And once those are tacked in, the radiator mounts are done. And this radiator will be mounted. We'll just have to put a couple welds on it, and then we can move on to cutting off the bottom inlet or outlet or whatever you want to call it. Voila! Now that we have all the tabs welded up on the radiator, we're gonna cut off this lower outlet, weld on this pipe. This is like 1 5/16 schedule 40. I have no clue what it is. It's not any nominal pipe that I understand, but it should work for what we're doing. Cut this outlet off, it's 1 3/4. This hole is a lot smaller than this, so it'll work just fine. Bend this straight up so it works with our engine over there, and we should have a radiator that functions the way we need it to, hopefully. There it is. Gotta be careful not to damage our nice radiator. And boom, most of it's off. Sick. We are very close to these edges. This is kind of thin aluminum, so I'm gonna really have to be on top of my game. We'll see what happens. I'm not promising that the first pass is gonna be the best pass, but we're gonna go cut this at a 45, clean all this up with acetone and wire brush, a stainless steel wire brush, and hopefully give ourselves the best chance of not absolutely butchering this. It's a high likelihood, very high. Changing the tactic. We cut these over on the chop saw. It was very sketchy because it was in such a small piece we didn't have much to grab onto. And then we adjusted them on the Ameriblade, got the angle exactly where we want it, which is not quite 90, it's a little less than 90, so it's pointed up and away from the radiator. Weld these together, weld it to the radiator. We have ourselves an outlet tube. I'm gonna leave it long just in case, but we can and probably will cut it down a little shorter in the future. Done. This is how clean you should have all your aluminum when you're trying to weld it. It will weld if it's not this clean, but it will not weld like you want it to. All right, we are just giving the coolant the best chance of flowing freely through this 90-degree bend. So just give a little grind out in there, a little more space to flow, and now we shall clean this up and weld it to the radiator, because we're cool like that. All right, that's most of the aluminum. That's most of the aluminum. This is the moment of truth here. I'm either blowing holes or getting a good weld in. The last weld was decent, so wish me luck. It came out really good until the very end when it got pretty ugly, but I'm pretty confident that it will hold water. We have now completed 2 of the big ticket items. We have the engine mounts done. I mean, that's not even the big, we fixed the steering, got a radiator up in this thing, and now we need to see about getting the alternator, power steering pump, because we need both those things to even run this serpentine belt. And then we need to get the oil filter relocation kit on this. So we're gonna go ahead, put all this stuff back on, and then put the oil filter relocation kit on and see about plumbing it. I wanna make it easy to service. I'm probably gonna be doing oil changes a lot, because this is probably gonna live a very hard life. Hopefully not a short one. Dang. In this box lies all the stuff we need. Oh my goodness gracious. My bad. Power steering pump, we got an alternator, and now everything is kind of where I expected it. So we're gonna put the oil filter in here. It's gonna be good. Now that we've got everything in here that's gonna be in here, minus the AC compressor, because I'm not sure that's even ever gonna go back, we're gonna put the oil filter. By the oil filter, I mean the oil filter relocation kit. Here's the part that bolts onto the engine. Here's the part that bolts wherever we want it to bolt. I'm going to put the oil filter right here. It's right next to the radiator, and it's in between the battery. We are putting the battery over here. I was gonna put it over here, and then I thought to myself, running my oil line from here right next to this exhaust and up there might not be the best idea, considering we're gonna like try and do burnouts in this truck and stuff. I don't wanna burn it down. So we're just gonna keep it over here. It'll keep all of the oil lines away from that hot exhaust and potentially a fire from happening. So make a little bracket, come off of this, we're good to go. All right, that hole is too big for that riv nut, but we can still put this riv nut in there. I don't know if we're gonna riv nut it yet. For now, we'll just put some bolts in. Voila. Looks good. This is a roll of AN10 line. These are a bunch of random fittings, and we're gonna use this cheap AN line, hopefully it doesn't explode and rod knock our engine, to run from our filter relocation kit to where the filter is going to be, the remote filter mount location. Now that we have point A and point B to run our AN lines to, we need to make the AN lines. So when you buy in the AN line, it's gonna be a little cut up and frilly. You're gonna wanna get some tape. Sometimes it comes with tape, sometimes it doesn't. Do a couple wraps around. And then you're gonna wanna cut it and just get a nice fresh edge to be making this AN line with. You take the tape off very gently. You're gonna wanna slide this end over that with as little damage as possible. Eventually it'll bottom out, and that's when you know you're enough in there. Get a little bit of lube. I use engine assembly lube, and just put the smallest amount on the other end. I put a little extra here, but wipe the excess off, wipe it on your front valence. There we go. Get your 2 wrenches, and you're gonna wanna go all the way down until you bottom it out. Got ourselves one slightly scratched, but completed AN line end. So we're just gonna do that with both sides, and we're actually just gonna run these long and leave them in there long for now. I don't wanna make the final AN line until we are for sure with all the fittings that we're gonna have. So we'll start both of them and leave them run long for now. And then when you're done, don't forget to clean them out. A bunch of debris from you cutting them is probably in there. Now that we have the lines ran to here, our adapters came in the mail. We're gonna go from AN8 to AN10. So we'll just screw these both on here. And we can now finish making these 2 oil lines, which will wrap up the whole oil filter situation. And our whole oil system, oil pan, oil pickup, and oil filter is all sorted. So we can, in theory, run this thing now without rod knocking it in the first few seconds. And just like that, our whole oil filter relocation system's done. We'll use a bigger filter than this, but the lines are ran, they're finished. We just need to put sealant on all these lines and install them for the final time once we have everything else done. Now, we need a battery to start this thing. So this is a battery tray from Off-Road Solutions. This is one I've had laying around from another swap that I ended up building my own tray for or something, but we're gonna install this. Now that we have the holes drilled, the riv nut right in. And should be pretty easy to just line this up. So they all line up, happy days, and this will bolt in. We're not gonna bolt it in quite yet because it will be in the way for everything else we're doing, but we will confirm, should have done this before, that this isn't gonna hit anything. And nope, we're good to go.
Hey, yeah. Flipping the script from my old ways. Flick up the switch, I'm in flow state. Commas I'm going through.
We've dialed in a lot of the big ticket items up here and just, allocating where things are gonna go. One of the last things we have is the fuel and air. So the air intake is gonna go here. We are waiting on a couple fittings for that. And the fuel line, I want to wait until after we build the exhaust so we're not running fuel in the way of the exhaust. So that brings us to our next big task, which is building the exhaust. So it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight right there at the headers going down. Once we get down past the headers and get our V-bands welded on, it shouldn't be too bad. But till then, it's gonna be very tight. We're probably gonna have to pull the engine a couple times just to make everything work, but we'll see what happens. For now, we're gonna get this on the lift it in the air enough so we can see under there and just start seeing what we have to work with. Because I know that this is very tight under there. So let's get this up in the air. Right, hold up. Now that we have this thing up in the air, I'm just getting some things that are in the way, out of the way. They've got some really old wires that ran like an inverter going into the truck coming from the engine bay. We're not gonna use these. They're like double-aught, they're huge. So we're just gonna get these out of the way. And then once those are out of the way, we are going to start thinking about the exhaust. When you look straight up, you can see this is the exhaust manifold. We need to run this down this little gap. We need to bend this over, which we'll do. And we're gonna run the exhaust through here. We'll have a V-band probably right here. And then we'll have the pipe down here. It's gonna come through here, go right under this little area. So we have to move the 2-post lift. And then we're gonna go down, up, over the frame here, and then it's gonna come out the side of the truck here. And we're just gonna straight pipe it on both sides. It's gonna be a rowdy V8 noise for sure, but I think it'll kind of suit the mini yellow box truck persona, Supercharged V8, can't put a muffler on that thing. So hopefully this doesn't take too long, but I do foresee the header situation taking a few hours. We'll just see what happens. Start cutting tube, bending tube. We are gonna do it all out of stainless, except for the part that we're welding to the headers. So we have these just mild steel 1 7/8 to 2 1/4 adapters, and then we're running 2 1/2 over the top of this down to a V-band, and then we'll do 2 1/2 stainless for the rest of it after the header. So should be a pretty cool looking exhaust. I'll TIG weld the whole thing and it'll be pretty rad. But in the meantime, we're gonna get this out of here and just start playing with getting those adapters welded onto the headers. It's not like we need weight reduction, but this is like 30 pounds of copper wire weight reduction. And it's the best kind of weight reduction because it's probably 30 bucks at the scrapyard. So real quick, we're gonna take both of these and just clean them up, get them ground down to bare steel, and also get these stickers off them so we can weld to them. Using the AmeriBraid here. I love this machine, probably more than any other machine in the shop. I mean, not more, but just as much as the plasma table, fab table, and my welders. Just these pieces of equipment make fabrication good, very good. We are gonna start on the easy side. And by easy side, I mean the side that has a little bit more room and don't have to deal with the brakes and the fuel lines. So what we need to do is get this adapter and weld it to the existing manifold up here. The problem that we have right now is I cut the manifold very straight like this, and our adapter needs to come up and join it like that. So you can see how that really won't make a very good exhaust, because it'll just all escape and it won't weld. So I'm gonna have to get up there with a grinder and kind of cut them both. This one, the exhaust manifold, cut it or grind it to an angle so that this can come in at an angle, and then we have a nice surface to weld. So that's what we're gonna do now, just try and get our small grinder up there, maybe a Sawzall, and just take off a little bit so that this intersects just a little more nicely. So I just need to go get the MIG welder, tack it in place, and then we can keep moving on, working it down to the V-band that will end up being right about here. We have modified this on the AmeriBraid, the belt grinder, and we're coming up in here, and hopefully it's the last time. This is like the 4th time. Ideally, it's pointed exactly where we want it. Down, nice, away from the frame rail, nice. Our triathlon runner's back. Ah! 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 Almost cut my finger off. Ow! 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 Pro tip, don't put your finger here and then hit it. I think that's it for this one. And we are welding. And now that we have the one side welded back together, this is gonna be easy to continue. So I wanna get the hard part done and get the adapter welded on this side. So grinding and cutting and notching. So same deal for this side on the headers that we're building. We're just modifying this exhaust manifold, but we are going to need to not only cut this and adjust this, but we need to cut that up there. So we're gonna use the same reach around little cutoff wheels, see if we can get some of this cleaned up, and we'll do most of the notching on this side. Get those welded together, get both of these adapted to stainless, the 2.5, and then weld on the V-bands, and then our headers will be done. One day we might build real headers for this thing, that'd be crazy. But today I just wanna hear it do burnouts, and I think the 350-ish horsepower this engine produces will be plenty enough for these headers that we're making. Less than beautiful, far less than ugly, folks. I think that'll work. So I'm gonna remove this sensor for this AT sensor unless for some reason we end up needing it so that we can run the exhaust a little bit close to this. This is gonna be tight. We're gonna heat wrap this because this is gonna be hot. What must be done? What must be done? The only other option we really have is we could potentially come down here, do a cross under and join up with this and do a 3-inch exhaust. But I don't have that in stainless. I only have that in mild and I wanna do stainless. So I think we're just gonna try and do the dual out. So this fuel line we're gonna hammer out of the way because we're not gonna use it and it's a little bit in the way, so. Just hammer this fuel line out of the way. We're actually gonna remove it, but we don't need to remove it right this second. And then I'll remove it later, doing it twice, like moving again, not just removing. I'm going to remove it by removing it. So I'm gonna go get the pre-bent stainless tube, bring it over here and start kind of playing with it. This thing does look sketchy in the air. Well, I was really curious about how it would work, and the first piece I throw up here is kind of it. So now it's just a matter of where I want to put this V-band because it's tight in here, and I know that we're not going to be able to pull too much exhaust with this, so I'd rather leave the headers on while we pull it. I don't know how possible that is. Dude, I could almost just weld this right here. Keep on keeping on. I'll play with some things and establish where we're gonna put the V-bands, and that'll be the big next factor, is getting the pipe to the V-band tacked on, and then once that's done, we can really build the rest of the exhaust. Right now we're still in header mode, but this header should work. Pressing the hard part now. Trying to just plan where these tubes are gonna want to line. I don't wanna say saws, I'll just mark it and weld the V-band in now. All right, sick. You know what, I was being silly. Before we even weld this to the rest of that pipe, I will cut this where I think the V-band needs to go, weld the V-band in, come back, put it all up here, tack this to the header, and then we'll be able to unbolt that V-band, and this will be exactly where we need it to go. We have plenty in this one. Man, I have extra. Now, we have 2/2 of our tube and our stainless V-band. This is big. Hopefully it fits where we're trying to put it. I guess it's glad we're gonna assemble all this out here before we put it up there and then try and put it up there. Yeah, I might have goofed, but hey, we'll find out. So there is a place for the V-band. Really, there's gonna be no way to tell until I just weld this all together. We got a couple small welds on here, just fusion welds, but it is one. So let's go see if it fits. Stainless race car stuff. Old man needs a stool. Doop. It's very tight, but it's doable. This is looking good, but I do want to suck it up closer to the floor just a little bit. So we're gonna cut probably 3/4 of an inch off of this side. With that last adjustment, when I put this up here, everything is happy. So the last thing we need to put in here eventually, somewhere from like here to here, maybe as far back as here, is we have a little flex joint over there, because I don't want to break anything, and there will be flex in the exhaust back here. So I really only want the rigid exhaust to somewhere in here, and while it's really tight, I think we can fit it all in here. So what I'm gonna do is tack this up there, take this long piece off once it's tacked up there. This is just making sure we're headed in the right direction. And then we will start doing the other side, mimic the entire thing, and get back to you once we have both sides done and we are starting to build the exhaust back from there. Well, you know what happens when you get ahead of yourself? Your V-bands cool off too quickly with a massive gap, and you get to cut them all apart. So we're gonna cut these V-bands off, try and reuse the tubes, and weld on a new V-band that isn't warped. So what I mean by warped is, even when this is tight, it's rocking, and it's not providing a good seal. So basically this V-band is trash, and hopefully this whole piece isn't trash, because that would be unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're gonna cut this off and weld a new one on.
Might lose some battles, but winning the war. I get knocked down, I get back up, get up and go. I stay ready for more. Go toe to toe till I level the score. Never gon' quit. Heard you seen some, but you never seen this.
And just like that, we have both of our downpipes and the start of our exhausts. So we are going to start the rest of the exhaust, and that's actually not as easy as it sounds. There's a big part of me that wants to put an X pipe or an H pipe in this, because I've had a straight piped True Dual GUZ before, and I'm not sure I'm gonna love the sound, but I've never done it with 2.5 with a supercharger. So we're gonna try it. I want to see what it sounds like. So we're just gonna come back with pipes. We're gonna put a flex joint right here. We're gonna run back. We're gonna go up and out on either side of our frame right here, and we will end up eventually cutting a hole inside of this, because that's where they're gonna end. But I do want to hear it before we do that. So we'll just run it up and ready to go through. And that way, if I want to change something, it's not, well, there's not a hole in the side of my sick box truck. So there's that. I'm just going to start welding up and fitting too from here all the way back. I have stainless hangers that should be in them here tomorrow, and it's already late in the day, so they'll be here just in time. Probably just going to go from here to the flex joint and then pick up tomorrow and put some hangers in and get this exhaust wrapped up so we can run fuel. And that'll be just about it, I think, because we're out of stuff. Done run out of parts. Not a bad thing. After many minutes and possibly hours of being extremely indecisive, I have figured out the grand plan for the exhaust. We've got both of these mid pipes, I'm gonna call them, installed. They're symmetrical, everything looks good. We're gonna put another couple of V-bands right here because we need to put an H pipe in this. True Duals and a 4.7 don't exactly sound the best, so I wanna put an H pipe in it so that it makes everything jive much better. It sounds meaner and more full and less raspy, if that makes any sense. My Tundra had True Duals when I was like 20, and it sounded kind of like poop. So we're gonna avoid the poop sound. We need to pull the rest of these stock exhaust, which is, well, basically ready to pull itself. And once we get that out of here, we're gonna put on about 3 inches more pipe, weld 2 more V-bands that I have right here on, make sure we don't warp these ones, and then we will put the duals to here. Now we're gonna stop here for now because I'm unsure if we're gonna do turn downs and just have it dump under the truck, or if we're gonna go up over the frame and out the side of the box. That really is dependent on how it sounds, because if it sounds not the best, I might end up going 2 to 1 into a 3-inch or something else, but that's the plan for right now. 3 inches V-band, run the exhaust to about right here and just leave it running long because we just have so much in the air that it makes sense to do that. So yeah, we'll go cut another couple 3-inch pieces of stainless, and hopefully my saw blade lasts because it is getting sad over there cutting the stainless. But yeah, weld some stuff. Here on the table right now, or if I tack everything together then weld them out. I'm just gonna tighten these V-bands down and weld them out here on the table, let it cool down. Just gonna tack them here, get everything welded together, pull it all off and weld it all out at once. Big brain move here. And with that last tack, we are out of stainless steel. We have no hangers, and basically we've taken this as far as we can take it. So we're gonna take all this down, weld everything out we have right now, and we'll wait on 1 more piece of stainless to make the H pipe here and our hangers to get everything hung, and then we need to hear this thing run. So I'll pull all this down, weld all of this out, leave it out, and we will run fuel lines, because that is the last thing we can do. But we're basically done for a minute until we get the wiring, some more exhaust and intake and a few other things. So let's get this down, weld it all out and see what it looks like. Also, we're gonna have to put O2 sensors in here somewhere, and I think we're gonna put them up there. But we also don't have O2 sensor bumps. We have nothing, so yay! We're done with this for now. time has come to make sure everything still fits after we welded it out. Things warp, things move, things change, but this is looking good. I'm actually really excited for this full stainless 2.5 dual. It's gonna look good under here. The part that's gonna look crappy is the not stainless flex joint. That some idiot bought and thought was stainless, but wasn't stainless. Idiot being me. Oh, come on, come on, all right. Get it. Oh, look at that. She. Look at that. She. And it looks sick. This is how it's gonna be. We're gonna have big old H pipe right here so it doesn't sound bad. And we'll just kind of hear what this sounds like. And once we know what this sounds like, we'll know if we want to cut some holes in the side of this. But I think on that note, we're done here. I'm out of stuff. I was gonna run the fuel lines, but I don't have any fuel line fittings. Don't have air intake stuff. We'll have wiring stuff. We have a lot of things that we do not have anymore, but we are way, way, way closer to where we want to be. Yeah, I feel like I made a lot of progress in this episode. I'm stoked on it, actually. Yeah, on that note, I am picking up steel for the all-metal mini Jeep tomorrow. There's 2 of them there, but we're working on the bigger one. I got the axles, got the steel, or the chassis, got the engine, the transmission, the transfer case. We got stuff. So we're gonna be starting on the all-metal mini Jeep tomorrow, which brings us to the fact that that will be the next episode. So if you wanna see all-metal mini Jeep, if you wanna see this thing do burnouts, click the like button, the subscribe button. It would really, really help if you guys head over to the website and bought a couple things, because you know, it's been rough, not gonna lie. And the continued support is always very much appreciated. You guys really have killed it, blown me away with how much you've already supported us through Patreon, through the merch, through just watching the videos. And by no means am I asking you to buy my stuff or telling you to buy my stuff. It just helps. So if you want to help, Patreon, merch, just like the videos, like button, click the subscribe button. If you hate my haircut, say, hey, your haircut sucks, and you shouldn't have cut your 10 years worth of hair off. Anyway, catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.